The warning lights flashed red across the control panel of the exploration ship Resilience. Captain Marcus Chen gripped his chair as another explosion rocked the small vessel. Sparks flew from the damaged systems around him. Engine failure critical, the computer announced in its calm voice. Hull breach detected. Emergency landing protocol engaged, Marcus cursed under his breath. He had been exploring the outer rim of known space when his ship's engine started acting strange. Now he was crashing on some unknown planet, and there was nothing he could do about it. The planet below looked green and blue through his view screen. At least it had an atmosphere he could breathe. That was something. The ship shook violently as it entered the atmosphere, and Marcus held on tight. "Come on, hold together," he whispered to his ship. The Resilience screamed through the air, its hull glowing red-hot. Marcus could see a forest below, then a clearing. The automated systems were trying to land there. He braced himself for impact. The crash was worse than he expected. The ship hit the ground hard, bounced twice, then slid across the clearing before slamming into a group of strange purple trees. Marcus was thrown forward against his restraints. Something sharp cut deep into his left shoulder, and he felt warm blood running down his arm. When everything stopped moving, Marcus hung upside down in his chair. His head hurt, his shoulder was bleeding badly, and his left leg felt twisted. But he was alive. "Emergency systems online," the computer said. "Life support functional. Medical bay accessible." Marcus unbuckled himself and fell to what used to be the ceiling. Every movement sent pain through his shoulder. He stumbled to the medical bay and grabbed a field kit. The cut was deep, running from his shoulder almost to his elbow. It needed proper treatment, but the autosurgeon was damaged in the crash. He cleaned the wound as best he could and sealed it with medical foam. It would have to do for now. His leg wasn't broken, just badly bruised. He wrapped his shoulder with bandages and took some pain medication. Through the broken hull, he could hear strange sounds from outside. Bird calls, maybe, but different from any Earth bird. The air that came through smelled sweet like flowers. Marcus gathered supplies into a pack. His communication array was dead, so he couldn't call for help. The ship's reactor was stable but wouldn't last forever. He needed to explore this world and find out if anyone lived here. He crawled out through a hole in the hull. The gravity felt a bit lighter than Earth's, which was good for his injured leg. The clearing was surrounded by those purple trees, and the grass under his feet was silver instead of green. 2 suns hung in the pink sky. Everything was beautiful but alien. Marcus had never seen anything like it in his 10 years of space exploration. He was examining one of the strange trees when he heard them coming. Voices, but not human voices. They had a musical quality like singing. Marcus hid behind his crashed ship and watched. They came through the trees like dancers, tall, elegant beings with skin that seemed to shine with its own light. They had 4 arms each and moved with a flowing grace that made Marcus feel clumsy, just watching. Their heads were larger than human heads, with big eyes that reflected the light like mirrors. There were 6 of them, wearing clothes that looked like they were made from living material. The fabric seemed to pulse with soft light. They carried weapons that didn't look like any technology Marcus knew. The weapons seemed alive, like spears made from crystalline growth. The aliens found his ship quickly. They spoke to each other in their musical language while examining the wreckage. One of them pointed toward where Marcus was hiding. He knew he was caught. Marcus stepped out from behind the ship with his hands raised. "I'm not armed," he called out, even though they probably couldn't understand him. The aliens stopped talking and stared at him. One of them pulled out a small device and pointed it at Marcus. The device glowed, and suddenly Marcus could understand their words. "What is this creature?" one of them said. "It came from the sky metal thing," another replied. "Look at how it stands. Only 2 arms, 2 legs. How strange." "It's injured," a third one observed. "The red liquid runs from its body." They approached him carefully, keeping their crystal spears ready. The one with the translator device came closest. She was taller than the others, with skin that shifted from silver to blue. "What are you?" she asked in accented but clear English. "Human," Marcus replied. "My name is Marcus Chen. I'm an explorer from Earth. My ship crashed here by accident." "Earth? We know of no such place. How did you travel here?" "My ship was exploring this system when the engine failed." "I mean no harm to your people." The lead alien studied him carefully. Her large eyes focused on his bandaged shoulder where blood was starting to seep through. "You are damaged," she said. "Why do you still stand? Why have you not fallen to weakness?" Marcus was confused by the question. It's just a cut. It hurts, but I can handle it. The aliens exchanged glances. They seemed surprised by his answer. We will take you to our city, the leader decided. Our queen will want to see this strange creature from the sky. Two of the aliens came forward. They touched his wounded shoulder with devices that looked like living crystals. The crystals glowed and stuck to his skin like bandages. The pain changed from sharp to dull, but it didn't go away completely. These will help your body heal, one of them explained, though we do not understand your strange form. They bound his hands with cords that felt warm and alive. Marcus didn't resist. He was hurt, alone, and outnumbered on an alien world. His best chance was to cooperate and hope these people were peaceful. The aliens led him through the purple forest. As they walked, Marcus learned their species was called Zephyrians. The world was called Zephyria Prime. They lived in great cities that grew like plants but were built like structures. His guides were scouts who patrolled the borders of their territory. They had never seen anything like his ship or his species. Space travel for them required huge living vessels that took many years to grow. His small metal ship was as strange to them as their crystal technology was to him. The walk took several hours. Marcus's injured leg started to ache, but he kept going. The Zephyrians watched him carefully, as if they expected him to collapse at any moment. Your endurance is unusual, the leader commented. Most creatures would have stopped by now. Humans are pretty tough, Marcus replied. We're built to keep going even when we're hurt. This seemed to puzzle them even more. As the day wore on, the forest gave way to cultivated lands. Marcus saw crops that looked like crystal formations growing in neat rows. Workers tended them with tools that seemed to be living creatures. Finally, they reached the city. Marcus stopped and stared in wonder. Towering spires grew from the ground like enormous trees, but their surfaces were smooth and gleaming. Bridges of light connected the towers, and the whole city pulsed with soft bioluminescence. Welcome to Veltar Zephys, the leader said, the heart city of our people. You will meet Queen Thessara soon. Marcus nodded, trying not to show how nervous he was. He was about to meet an alien queen while injured and exhausted. He just hoped he could convince her that humans came in peace. The Zephyrians led him toward the largest spire in the center of the city. Whatever happened next would determine his fate on this strange and beautiful world. The throne room of Queen Thessara was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The walls curved upward like the inside of a giant flower, glowing with soft blue and green light. Living vines covered the surfaces, pulsing gently as if they had heartbeats. The floor felt warm and slightly soft under his feet. Marcus was led into the center of the vast chamber. Dozens of Zephyrians filled the space, all watching him with curious eyes. They wore robes that seemed to be made from the same living material as everything else in their city. The clothing moved and shifted colors as they breathed. At the far end of the room, Queen Thessara sat on a throne that looked like it had grown from the floor itself. She was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. Taller than the other Zephyrians, she had 6 arms instead of 4. Her skin shifted between silver and deep blue, and her crown seemed to be part of her head, growing like coral from her skull. Around the throne stood her personal guards. These warriors were different from the scouts who had captured Marcus. They wore armor that looked like it was made from living bone, and they carried spears that glowed with inner light. Their faces were hidden behind masks that resembled insect heads. The Velthera, whispered one of his captors. The Queen's chosen warriors. The lead scout approached the throne and bowed deeply. She spoke in the musical Zephyrian language, too fast for Marcus's translator device to follow completely. He caught words like sky metal and strange creature and wounded but walking. Queen Thessara listened without moving. Her large eyes never left Marcus's face. When the scout finished speaking, the Queen raised one of her 6 hands. Bring the alien forward, she commanded in perfect English. Marcus walked closer to the throne, his injured leg sending jolts of pain with each step. He stopped about 10 feet away and tried to bow respectfully, though he wasn't sure of the proper protocol. You claim to be from a place called Earth, Queen Thessara said. Her voice was beautiful, like music, but there was power in it that made Marcus's bones vibrate. We have traveled the stars for thousands of years. We know of no such world. Earth is far from here, Your Majesty, Marcus replied. In a different part of the galaxy. My people are new to space travel compared to yours. The Queen leaned forward slightly. Show us this proof of your travels. Marcus slowly reached into his pack and pulled out a small data pad. Several of the Vale'thara guards raised their spears, but the Queen gestured for them to wait. Marcus activated the device, showing images of Earth, human cities, and star maps. The Zephyrians gathered around to look. They spoke in excited whispers as they saw the pictures of blue oceans and white clouds, of human cities with straight lines and metal buildings. "Your structures are rigid," observed one of the nobles. "They do not grow or change. How do they live?" "They don't live," Marcus explained. "We build them from dead materials like metal and stone." This caused a stir among the courtiers. The idea of building with non-living materials seemed to disturb them. "And these creatures," the Queen said, pointing to images of humans, "they all look like you? 2 arms, 2 legs, small eyes?" "Yes, mostly. There are some differences, but we're all basically the same." Queen Thessara studied the images for a long time. "Your people are very uniform. Tell us, how do you travel between stars in such small vessels?" Marcus tried to explain human space technology, but the concepts didn't translate well. The Zephyrians traveled in living ships that were grown over decades. They used biological systems that Marcus didn't understand. His explanations of metal ships, fusion engines, and artificial intelligence seemed impossible to them. "You say this metal shell brought you across the void between stars?" asked Commander Vexhai, the leader of the Vale'thara. His voice was harsh and suspicious. "In mere weeks rather than years?" "Yes, sir. Human ships are fast but not very big." "Impossible," Vexhai declared. "No creature could survive in dead metal for so long. The void sickness would destroy its mind." "Humans are adapted for space travel," Marcus said. "We use machines to keep us safe." This led to more questions about human technology, human society, and human biology. Marcus did his best to answer, but many concepts simply didn't exist in Zephyrian culture. They had no machines, only living tools. They had no metals, only grown materials. They had no concept of medicine as humans knew it, because their bodies healed perfectly or died. As the questions continued, Marcus began to feel weak. The wound in his shoulder was throbbing and his leg ached from standing so long, but every time he shifted his weight or showed any sign of discomfort, the Zephyrians noticed and whispered among themselves. "You have been standing for 3 hours," Queen Thessara observed. "Your body shows signs of damage, yet you remain upright. How is this possible?" "I'm in some pain, Your Majesty, but it's nothing I can't handle." "Nothing you cannot handle?" The Queen's skin shifted to a deeper blue. "Explain this phrase." Marcus wasn't sure how to respond. To him, working through pain was normal. Humans did it every day, but the Zephyrians seemed amazed by the concept. "Well, the injury hurts, but I can ignore it if I need to. Humans learn to push through pain when necessary." "Push through pain," the Queen repeated slowly, as if pain were an obstacle to overcome rather than a warning to cease activity. "That's right." The court erupted in whispers. Some of the nobles looked fascinated, others looked disturbed. Commander Vexhai stepped closer to Marcus, his spear glowing brighter. "What manner of warrior training produces such resistance to damage?" he demanded. "I'm not a warrior," Marcus said. "I'm an explorer. This is just normal human behavior." "Normal?" The Queen's voice rose slightly. "You consider ignoring injury to be normal?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Humans get hurt all the time. We heal and keep going. It's how we survive." Queen Thessara was quiet for a long moment. Her 6 hands moved in complex patterns that seemed to be some form of sign language. The nobles watched her carefully. "Show us your wound," she commanded finally. Marcus hesitated. "Your Majesty, remove the coverings from your injury. We would see how our healing crystals have helped you." Marcus slowly unwrapped the bandages from his shoulder. The Zephyrian healing crystals had helped, but the wound was still ugly and painful. As he pulled away the last bandage, several courtiers gasped. But it wasn't the fresh wound that shocked them. It was everything else they could see. Queen Thessara stood up from her throne, all 6 arms trembling slightly. Commander Vexhai took a step backward. Around the throne room, Zephyrians pointed and whispered in fear. Marcus looked down at himself, confused. Then he realized what they were seeing. His body was covered in scars. Old cuts, burns, surgical marks, the evidence of a lifetime of minor injuries and accidents that were completely normal for a human. To the Zephyrians, who healed perfectly or died, the sight was terrifying. "What happened to you?" Queen Thessara whispered. "What tortures did you endure?" "These?" Marcus looked at his scars. "These are just from living. Everyone on Earth has scars like this. The Queen sat back down heavily. Her skin had turned almost black with what Marcus was beginning to recognize as fear. "Everyone?" she asked. "Yes, Your Majesty. This is what humans look like." Commander Vexhi's spear began to glow brighter, and Marcus realized that his simple explanation had somehow changed everything. Commander Vexhi circled Marcus like a predator studying prey. His crystal spear pulsed with dangerous light, and the other Vale'thara guards moved to surround the human. The throne room had gone completely silent except for the soft humming of the living walls. "Explain these marks," Vexhi demanded, pointing at a long scar across Marcus's ribs. "What enemy weapon made this wound?" Marcus touched the old scar. "I fell off my bike when I was 12. Hit a fence. Bike, fence?" The commander's translator struggled with the words. "A vehicle children ride for fun. A fence is a barrier made of metal wire." Queen Thessara leaned forward, her 6 hands gripping the arms of her throne. "You say this happened during play?" "Yes, Your Majesty. I was racing my friends and took a corner too fast." The Zephyrians exchanged glances full of confusion and growing fear. To them, play was a careful, graceful activity that never resulted in injury. "And this?" Vexhi pointed to another scar on Marcus's arm. "Cooking accident when I was 20. Grabbed a hot pan by mistake." "You injured yourself while preparing food?" "It happens. Humans aren't perfect." A Zephyrian noble near the throne stepped forward. She was elderly, with skin that had faded to a pale silver. "Young alien, show us more. We must understand." Marcus rolled up his sleeves and pointed to various marks on his arms. "This one's from my cat when I was a kid. This burn is from working on a ship engine. These little ones are from thorns when I was hiking." "Cat? Hiking?" The translator device was working overtime. "A small predator we keep as companions. Hiking is walking in wild places for pleasure." Queen Thessara stood up slowly. "You seek out danger for entertainment?" "Well, not exactly danger. We like challenges. Humans enjoy testing themselves." "And your leaders permit this self-harm?" "It's not really self-harm. It's just living. Sometimes we get hurt." Marcus pulled up his shirt to show more scars. The Zephyrians gasped at the sight. A long surgical scar ran down his side where his appendix had been removed. Burn marks dotted his back from academy training. A jagged line across his stomach told the story of falling through a glass door at age 16. "This large mark," whispered the elderly noble. "What terrible wound created this?" "Medical surgery. The doctors had to remove a part of my body that was making me sick." "Doctors? They cut into you intentionally?" "To save my life, yes. It's normal medical practice." The throne room erupted in horrified whispers. Several nobles backed toward the exits. The Vale'thara guards raised their spears higher, but Marcus noticed their hands were shaking. Commander Vexhi's voice was barely controlled. "You allow others to damage you?" "When it helps us heal, yes." "And these doctors, they survive this practice?" "They are not executed for assault?" Marcus almost laughed, but the fear in the room stopped him. "No, they're honored."
"Healing people is one of our most respected professions." Queen Thessara sank back into her throne.
Her skin had gone completely black now, which Marcus was learning meant extreme distress. "How many humans exist?" she asked quietly. "About 8 billion on Earth. More on our colonies." 8 billion. She repeated the number like it was a curse. 8 billion beings that survive multiple fatal injuries. They're not fatal if you survive them. Do not mock us. Vexhi snapped. Any one of these wounds would kill a Zephyrian. Marcus suddenly understood. He looked around the room at these beautiful, graceful beings and realized what he was seeing. Perfect creatures. No scars, no marks, no signs of damage anywhere on their bodies. "You don't heal like we do," he said softly. "We heal perfectly," Queen Thessara said with pride. "Our bodies restore themselves to their original state. Or we die. There's no middle ground? None. Injury means death or complete recovery." Marcus nodded slowly. "So when you see my scars, we see someone who should have died many times over." The silence stretched for long moments. Marcus could feel the fear radiating from the assembled Zephyrians. To them, he wasn't just an alien. He was a walking impossibility. "Tell us about human warriors," Commander Vexhi said finally. "What do you want to know? How do they train? How do they prepare for battle?" Marcus thought about military academies, boxing matches, martial arts training. They practice fighting each other. They get hurt during training so they'll be ready for real combat. They injure themselves intentionally. It's how they learn. You can't know how to take a punch until you've been punched. Several more nobles fled the throne room. The remaining Vale Thera guards were backing away from Marcus despite their commander's presence. This training, Queen Thessera asked. How long does it last? Years, usually. Soldiers train constantly to stay in shape. And they accumulate damage during this time? Of course. Broken bones, cuts, bruises. It's part of the job. Broken bones? Vexhi's spear was trembling now. You break your own bones for practice? Not on purpose, but it happens. Bones heal stronger after they break. This statement caused the biggest reaction yet. Half the remaining courtiers rushed for the exits. Queen Thessera made a sound like a wounded animal. Stronger after breaking? She whispered. Yes. The body repairs the damage and makes the bone tougher than before. Impossible. It's basic human biology. We adapt to damage. Marcus realized he was making things worse with every explanation, but he couldn't stop. The Zephyrians needed to understand what humans were really like. We have sports where the whole point is to hit each other, he continued. Boxing, wrestling, football. People pay to watch. Entertainment based on violence. Controlled violence. Rules, referees, safety equipment. And the participants survive? Usually. Sometimes they get hurt, but they heal and come back to fight again. Queen Thessera stood up and walked to the edge of her platform. She stared down at Marcus with all the intensity of her large eyes. Human Marcus, she said formally. We require a demonstration. Your Majesty? Show us this human endurance. Prove that you can function while damaged. Marcus looked around the room. What would you like me to do? Commander Vexhi stepped forward. Physical exercises. Movement patterns. Show us how injured humans fight. Marcus shrugged, which made his shoulder wound send spikes of pain down his arm. But he ignored it and dropped to the floor. He began doing push-ups the way he'd been trained in the academy. The effect on the Zephyrians was immediate and dramatic. Several guards dropped their spears entirely. Queen Thessera gripped her throne so hard that her knuckles turned white. Marcus did 20 push-ups, then stood up and did jumping jacks. His injured shoulder screamed and his hurt leg nearly gave out twice, but he kept going. To him, this was just working through pain. To the Zephyrians, it was witnessing a miracle. Enough, Queen Thessera commanded. Marcus stopped and stood at attention, breathing hard but still upright. You have been injured in a ship crash, she said slowly. You have walked for hours. You have stood for more hours. You have demonstrated physical exertion, yet you remain conscious and functional. Yes, Your Majesty. Any Zephyrian would have died or been completely healed by now. I understand that now. Queen Thessera looked at her guards. Every one of them had lowered their spears. Fear and awe were written clearly on their faces. Commander Vexhi, she said quietly. Yes, my queen. How many humans did he say exist? 8 billion, my queen. She closed her eyes. 8 billion beings who treat mortal injury as temporary inconvenience. Marcus finally understood why they were so afraid. Queen Thessera dismissed most of the court with a gesture. Only her closest advisors and the Vale Thera guards remained, though even they kept their distance from Marcus. The human stood in the center of the vast throne room, suddenly aware that his mere existence had terrified an entire civilization. Scholar Mindala, the queen called to an elderly Zephyrian with deep purple skin. Approach and examine this creature more closely. The scholar moved forward carefully, carrying a device that looked like a living crystal spider. The device scuttled over Marcus's body, glowing and chirping as it worked. Fascinating, Mindala whispered. Your bone density is remarkable. These structures show signs of repeated fracture and repair. How many times have your bones been broken? Queen Thessera asked. Marcus thought about it. My left arm twice, my right leg once, a few ribs, my nose 3 times, and my collarbone when I was in the academy. The scholar's device nearly fell from her hands. 11 documented bone fractures and you still function normally? Actually, I function better. The broken bones healed stronger than they were before. Impossible, breathed Commander Vexhi. No creature survives that level of structural damage. Humans do. We're built for it. Scholar Mindala's scanner moved to Marcus's torso. These muscle fibers show signs of systematic damage and repair. Thousands of micro-tears throughout the tissue. That's from exercise, Marcus explained. Humans tear their muscles on purpose to make them grow stronger. Queen Thessera made that wounded animal sound again. You damage yourself for improvement? It's how we get stronger. No pain, no gain, as we say. You have sayings about seeking pain. Lots of them.
Pain is weakness leaving the body.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Tough times make tough people. The remaining courtiers huddled together, whispering in fear. Marcus realized his casual attitude toward pain and injury was making everything worse. But he couldn't seem to stop explaining. "Scholar," the Queen commanded, "continue your examination." The crystal device crawled over Marcus's arms, beeping frantically. His cardiovascular system shows signs of extreme stress conditioning. This heart has been pushed far beyond normal operating parameters many times. "We call it cardio training," Marcus said. "Running, swimming, climbing. We push our hearts to make them stronger. You deliberately stress your vital organs every day. Most humans exercise regularly." "Most humans?" Commander Vexahai's voice cracked slightly. "Yeah, it's pretty normal. We have gyms everywhere. Places where people go to hurt themselves for fun." The scholar's device was now examining Marcus's hands. "These calluses indicate repeated tissue damage from gripping rough surfaces. I lift weights. Heavy objects that tear up your hands until they get tough. And these burn patterns on your fingertips? Cooking, welding, working with hot things. You learn to ignore minor burns." Queen Thessara stood and began pacing, all 6 arms moving in agitated patterns. "Explain human military training." Marcus knew this would be bad, but he answered honestly. "Boot camp is designed to break you down and build you back up. They push recruits until they collapse, then make them get up and keep going. They force soldiers to collapse? It's how they test mental toughness. Physical pain is just the beginning. Beginning of what? Learning to function under stress. Combat is chaos. Soldiers need to think clearly while being shot at, stabbed, blown up, whatever." The Veil Theraguards were backing further away now. Their crystalline spears had stopped glowing entirely, as if the weapons themselves were afraid. "What is the longest a human has functioned while injured?" Scholar Mindala asked. Marcus thought about military history, survival stories, extreme sports. There are lots of examples. Soldiers fighting for hours with bullet wounds. Mountain climbers cutting off their own arms to escape. Athletes finishing races with broken bones. They cut off their own limbs? When necessary, humans will do whatever it takes to survive. Queen Thessara stopped pacing. "Show us your military equipment." Marcus pulled up images on his datapad. Pictures of tanks, rifles, body armor, field medical kits. The Zephyrians gathered around but stayed well back from the device. "These weapons," Commander Vexhai said, pointing at a rifle. "They are designed to cause what kind of damage?" "Penetrating trauma mostly. Bullets punch holes through targets." "And humans survive these wounds?" "Sometimes. With good medical care, people can survive pretty serious gunshot wounds." "Medical care that involves more intentional cutting?" "Surgery, yes. Sometimes they have to operate multiple times to fix everything." The Queen's skin had gone so black it was almost invisible against the shadows. "How do human physicians learn their craft?" Marcus knew this answer would be particularly horrible to them. "They practice on cadavers first. Dead bodies. Then they work on live patients under supervision. They learn to cut living flesh? For healing purposes, yes. It takes many years of training. And these physicians, they are honored in your society." "Very much. Doctors save lives." Scholar Mindala's scanner beeped urgently as it examined Marcus's head. "This cranium shows evidence of multiple concussions. Head injuries from sports mostly. A few from accidents. Your brain has been damaged repeatedly. Concussions aren't permanent damage. Your brain swells up, you feel dizzy for a while, then it gets better. The most vital organ in your body has been injured multiple times, and you consider this normal?" "Well, I probably should have been more careful. But yeah, it happens." Queen Thessara walked back to her throne and sat down heavily. She looked exhausted and terrified. "Commander Vexhai," she said quietly. "Yes, my queen? Your assessment of human military capabilities?" The commander looked at his lowered spears, then at Marcus, then back at his queen. "If they treat training as he describes, if they voluntarily endure damage to improve performance, if they function normally while injured, yes, our weapons are designed to incapacitate through injury. Against beings who ignore injury, our tactics would be useless. And their numbers? 8 billion, my queen. If even a small percentage were trained warriors..." Queen Thessara closed her eyes. "Scholar Mindala, your conclusions?" The elderly Zephyrian looked at her readings, then at Marcus, then at her queen. "This species has evolved beyond our understanding. They have turned weakness into strength, damage into improvement, pain into motivation. They are the opposite of us, the queen said. Yes, my queen. We achieve perfection through avoiding harm. They achieve perfection through embracing it. Marcus finally spoke up. Your Majesty, I want you to know that humans are not warlike by nature. We prefer peace, but you are capable of war? When necessary, yes. And in war you would send damaged beings to fight? We'd send our best. But yes, injured soldiers often continue fighting, while we would send only the undamaged who would flee at the first sign of injury. Marcus nodded sadly. I'm beginning to understand the problem. Queen Thessara looked at her guards. Every spear was pointed at the floor. Fear had overcome their warrior training. Human Marcus, she said formally. We must speak privately. Everyone else, leave us. The courtiers and guards filed out quickly, grateful to escape. Only Queen Thessara and Marcus remained in the vast living throne room. Tell me truthfully, she said when they were alone. Are your people coming here? Not unless I call them. My ship's communication array was damaged in the crash. And if you do call them? Marcus considered lying but decided honesty was better. They'll send a rescue ship. When they see what your people have built here, they'll want to establish contact. Humans are curious about other intelligent species. Queen Thessara was quiet for a long time, staring at this scarred, damaged being who refused to fall down. Perhaps, she said finally, it is time you learned why the idea of indestructible allies both terrifies and gives us hope. Queen Thessara gestured to a smaller chamber behind her throne. Marcus followed her through doors that opened like flower petals, into a room that glowed with soft golden light. The walls were covered with what looked like star maps, but they moved and changed as he watched. Sit, the queen commanded, pointing to a chair that grew from the floor as she spoke. Marcus sat carefully, his wounded shoulder still aching. The queen remained standing, all 6 arms moving in complex patterns as she spoke. What I am about to tell you has been our most guarded secret for 300 years, she began. But your arrival changes everything. She touched one of the wall maps and it expanded to show a section of the galaxy. Red marks spread across dozens of star systems like a disease. The Void Swarm, she said simply. Marcus studied the display. I've never heard of them. Few have until it is too late. They are not like us or like you. They are parasites that consume entire civilizations. The map changed, showing what looked like massive black clouds moving between stars. They travel in living ships that feed on stellar radiation. When they find a populated world, they begin the harvest. Harvest? Queen Thessara's skin darkened with remembered pain. They do not kill quickly. They study their prey first, learning how to cause the maximum damage with the minimum effort. New images appeared on the wall. Marcus saw beautiful cities reduced to rubble, elegant beings lying motionless in the ruins. Against most species, they use energy weapons that cause precise tissue damage. One shot, one kill. Efficient and clean, but not against you? No. Our perfect healing protects us from their standard weapons. So they adapted. The queen touched another section of the map. Marcus saw Zephyrian warriors fighting desperate battles against dark, flowing enemies. They developed weapons specifically for us, toxins that prevent healing, acids that cause permanent scarring, energy blasts that damage our cellular repair systems. Marcus began to understand. So any injury becomes fatal. Exactly. A small cut that would heal in moments instead spreads like poison through our bodies. We die slowly in agony, unable to repair the damage. The queen's voice became bitter. Our greatest strength became our greatest weakness. We had no experience with lasting injury, no tolerance for pain, no knowledge of fighting while damaged. How long have you been at war? 300 years. We have lost half our territory and billions of our people. Marcus looked at the expanding red zones on the map. The Zephyrian Empire was being slowly consumed. Your warriors, the Velthara, they trained to avoid injury? Of course. Perfect technique, perfect form, no wasted motion. They practice for decades to achieve flawless combat skills. But when they get hurt, they die or retreat for complete healing. There is no middle ground. Queen Thessara walked to another wall display. This one showed troop movements and battle statistics. Our military doctrine is based on overwhelming force delivered without taking damage. When that fails, we withdraw and regroup. But the swarm has learned to exploit this. They wound your soldiers on purpose. Yes. Even a minor injury removes one of our warriors from combat permanently. They have turned our healing gift into a tactical disadvantage. Marcus studied the battle reports. The Zephyrian military was clearly sophisticated and powerful, but they were losing because they couldn't adapt to a war of attrition. What about your allies? Other species? The few that survived the swarm's advance face the same problems we do. Most civilizations develop advanced medicine to avoid injury and pain. Only we have encountered beings who embrace damage as a path to strength. The Queen turned to face Marcus directly. Until now. Marcus felt the weight of her words. You think humans could fight the swarm? I think humans already fight like the swarm. You damage yourselves for training. You continue functioning while injured. You adapt to pain instead of avoiding it. It's not the same as combat, is it not? You described warriors who train by hurting each other, physicians who cut flesh to heal it, athletes who break bones and continue competing. How is this different from war? Marcus thought about military medicine, field hospitals, soldiers fighting on despite wounds. When humans get hurt in battle, we patch them up and send them back to fight, while our injured must return home for complete healing or die trying. Yeah, I can see how that would be a problem. Queen Thessera activated another display. This one showed detailed anatomical diagrams of various species. We have studied the swarm's victims for centuries. Every species they conquered shared the same weakness, dependence on perfect biology. But your scars, your casual attitude toward pain, your ability to function while damaged, you think we're immune to their tactics. I think you are the opposite of everything they expect to face. Marcus looked at the strategic situation again. The Zephyrian Empire was clearly doomed without help, but they were offering something valuable in return. Your technology is incredible, he said. Living ships, biological computers, medical crystals that actually work. And your resilience is beyond our imagination. Together, we might actually have a chance. Queen Thessera moved to a final display. This one showed Earth's location relative to the expanding swarm territory. There is something else you should know, she said quietly. The swarm's expansion pattern. They are moving toward your region of space. Marcus felt cold despite the warm room.
How long?
At their current rate of advance, they will reach human space in approximately 50 years. Then this isn't just about saving your people. No. This is about preventing the extinction of both our species. They sat in silence for several minutes, both contemplating the magnitude of what they were discussing. Finally, Marcus spoke. What exactly are you proposing? An alliance. Your people's combat philosophy combined with our technology, your resilience supported by our biological sciences. In exchange for teaching us to fight like humans, show us how to ignore pain, how to function while damaged, how to turn injury into strength instead of weakness. Marcus thought about the implications. That would mean changing your entire military culture. Our current culture is leading us to extinction. Change is necessary. And you think your people can learn to be like humans? Queen Thessera's skin shifted to a determined silver. We will learn or we will die. There are no other options. Marcus stood up, his wounded shoulder protesting the movement. But he ignored the pain, just as he always had. I'll need to contact my people. Explain the situation. Your ship's communication array was damaged. Can your people repair it? Possibly. Our biotechnicians are skilled at integrating living systems with foreign technology. Then let's do it. Queen Thessera called for her advisors. As they entered the chamber, Marcus noticed that the Vaelthara guards still kept their spears lowered. But their posture had changed. Fear was being replaced by something else, curiosity. Commander Vexhai, the Queen said, prepare a technical team to examine the human's vessel. We will attempt to restore its communication systems. Yes, my Queen, and after we begin learning how to fight like humans. Vexhai looked at Marcus with a mixture of awe and determination. Will you teach us? Marcus thought about the long, brutal process of turning these graceful, perfect beings into something that could survive the kind of warfare humans took for granted. It's going to hurt, he warned. Good, said Commander Vexhai. And Marcus realized that the Zephyrians were already beginning to understand. As the meeting broke up and preparations began, Marcus found himself looking forward to the challenge. Teaching an entire civilization to embrace their weaknesses and turn them into strengths would be the hardest thing he'd ever attempted. But if it worked, the galaxy might have a chance against the coming darkness, and if it didn't, at least they would go down fighting instead of fleeing. That, Marcus thought, was the most human thing of all.